Hello, guys. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. This is your international break review. We did originally have the A to Z show planned for today, but we've swapped it around due to a couple of technical difficulties and stuff. So don't worry, that'll be still tomorrow. But for today, we have got the international review. Joining me, we have Delhi's finest, Shreyas Singh. How are you, sir? Very good. We've got a new role today, haven't we? Yeah, he's a man of many talents. He is Shreyas, a man of many talents. Um, so yeah, very very grateful to have you on the show, Shreyas. Thank you very much for joining us. As I mentioned just then, we're going to be taking a look at how the lads got on over the international break. By the lads, I don't mean the lads off the show because they don't play football. I mean the lads from United, of course. Quite a few decent cameos for their respective nations. One big concern, which we're going to discuss later on. Can you guess who that is? And the Denmark manager and Bruno Fernandez have been singing Eriksen praises. We're also going to touch on what Yapstam has said about Lisandro Martinez as well. So, as always, if you're new to the channel, please click that subscribe button. We've hit the target of 600 plus before the derby. Now we want to hit 700 before the end of October. So I know you help us do it because we've absolutely smashed every target that we've set. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, thank you for the continued support. We really appreciate it. Let's start off with the international break. England lost to Italy, drew to Germany. Two of the players that went out for Manchester United were Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw. I want to start off with Harry Maguire. Shreyas carried on his poor form with England, gave away a clumsy penalty in the Germany game, kicked out of play. In the Italy game, it was like a clip from it that became a meme. He was just like all the English defenders were looking at him, thinking like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Just towed it out, and everyone was like, "Mate, he's still in play." Like, so yeah, he's not at the best of times. He's under a lot of scrutiny at the minute, and Southgate needs to take him out of the firing line, in my personal opinion. Just if you can, Treyas, talk to me about Harry Maguire's situation, his form that he's carried on with England, and how you see the next month for him. Yeah, audio. I can't hear you. Let's see. I think I don't think we can hear him. So he's sending me a message now. Don't you just love the tension? Okay, all right. It's just sorting his audio. Well, I can talk about Harry Maguire for a second while Shreya sorts that out. No problem. So yeah, Harry Maguire is well, I was gonna say potentially carried on his form. Then he's gone off with England. Still, people kind of scratching their heads as to why is he playing for why is he playing for Manchester United? He's not anymore. Ten Hag's dropped him, but why is Southgate continuously picking him, putting him in the firing line when he's in potentially the worst form of his career so far, when he's supposed to be coming into his prime years? He's like 29, I think, 28, 29. And yeah, look, he's still struggling for England. Even when we've got centre-backs, you look at our options, we've got that Tomori. We've got Ben White, who's been doing relatively well for Arsenal. I know he's been playing at right back, but he could easily slot in there. You've got Gui, or Gay, I think is how you pronounce it, for Crystal Palace. So yeah, you've got a lot of options there, Shreyas, who could fill in for him, but Southgate seems to just be continuously picking Harry Maguire. Like, what's going on with that situation? Because I actually think if for Southgate to be successful at this tournament, one of the big decisions that he has to make would be dropping Maguire straight up.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it's not just because Maguire doesn't have the ability. I think it just comes down to the fact that other players have more quality and they've got much more to offer. I think, and in a way, they're more deserving than him to actually feature because you look at the likes of Fikayo Tomori. He's had a wonderful season with AC Milan. He's still doing bits for AC Milan. Except that like you mentioned, you've got Gohi, who is playing really, really well. Could be, one of those special gems who could just erupt at the World Cup, like we've seen
Yeah.
over the years. That certain players like James Rodriguez came around just because of the World Cup. So he could be someone who could fit in there. I think even at the moment, if he picks someone like Ben White, I wouldn't be surprised ahead of Harry Maguire because these players are playing much better than him. These players are actually getting regular game time, and right now they aren't big controversial players as well. I think if Southgate actually banks on these players, if he actually picks these players ahead of Maguire, no one would really question him for doing so. I think picking Harry Maguire right now is something that would cause more controversy rather than picking someone like a Tomori or Ben White or Mark Guehi, because I understand the way he wants to make England play. I think everyone does. It is very slow. It is very pragmatic. It is not that fast paced, but I still think that if England really want to achieve something in this World Cup, they definitely need to switch things about. I think this Nations League and this international break has been a big wake up call for them, because I think the reason why Southgate is still in the job is because the way he wants to play, he's got the players for that. Like if you want to play Maguire, you need to have somewhat of a back six or a back five, and even after that, he's got players like Calvin Phillips, he's got players like Declan Rice to actually shield him even if he messes up. So it's a very protected system for him. That's why he's not able to I would say he's not able to make those kind of aggressive runs that he used to make for us last season, and get caught up on the break or get caught because of his pace. I think that is one of the factors that get eliminated because of that, but in the end it ends up costing them in the attacking front. So yeah, I think with Harry Maguire, I think it just comes down to favoritism. I would say I think with Southgate,
100%.
it he has his set of players that he wants to pick, no matter if, how no matter about he's
Regardless
yeah,
of
I
how
think
he at the
I
form.
still can't understand how he can't really pick someone like Jadon Sancho. I think Sancho right now is pretty much if you have to just compare it on the basis of form, he's one of the best wingers right now. If you have to just look
Mm.
at on the basis of form, he's improved a lot, he's much more confident, and if you have to compare him to the players that actually got picked, players like Jared Bowen, I would even say right now Raheem Sterling and players like them, right now he's performing better than them. He's actually
And
performing
Grealish.
much better. Yeah, exactly. Grealish, I don't really get it. I think he's picked his favorites in Maguire. I would say even Luke Shaw. Um, once
Well,
again,
that's
yeah,
who we're just going to get onto now. So that I'll run through basically
yeah,
the little short summary I've got for Luke Shaw, because he only played, I believe, one game. He played a little bit of the first game when we played Italy, but then he played a full game against the Germans in a back five. He actually had a really good game against Germany, in fairness
yeah,
to him. He spoke to Talksport after the game about being dropped, Malacia taking his spot, and I thought his response was perfect. He basically just said he needs to work hard and wait for his opportunity, which I feel like Maguire could take a leaf out of his book. Sometimes he could just take that from him. And when he gets asked certain questions, Maguire could say, look, I'm working hard. I understand I'm in bad form, but I'll do my best basically to get back into the squad. That's refreshing.
yeah.
That's what you want to hear. But with Maguire, it's like, oh well, the coach wouldn't pick me if if I was playing bad and all this kind of shit. And you're just like, so yeah, Luke Shaw's on the right track. I just wanted to ask you, how do you see Shaw's? How do you see Luke Shaw's chances of getting back into the team, and what do you think of his chances in regards to the World Cup?
I think in regards to the World Cup, I think he will definitely go. I don't know whether he'll be picked. I think there is still a lot of time and things can change drastically when it comes to football. But I think he'll definitely go. There's no way I think that Southgate would actually bench or actually not take Luke Shaw. I think he's definitely going to take Luke Shaw. When it comes to his game time at Manchester United, I think there are just two ways for him to get that. Either Malacia gets injured, or the volume of games are that much that Luke Shaw needs to be put in somewhere so that the our starting front four, they don't really get an injury, because right now Malacia is doing really really well. He is a player I would even say that Ten Hag is banking upon when it comes to that left back position. He's getting better and better every game. I wouldn't want to bench someone like Malacia, who's he's really really young. He's playing really really well. He's still growing, and he still needs to mature a lot. And the best way to do that is to actually get him more game time. If Luke Shaw needs to come back into the squad, he has to earn that. I would say for him, the best way to come into the squad would be to actually get into the form, get into the the best shape, best fitness, and actually perform on the pitch. Because we've seen what happens when players actually come in because of injuries. We've seen what happened to Telles last season. Luke Shaw was injured, Telles came in, but what we saw was just a certainty that we can't really bank on Telles. We need a new left back in case Luke Shaw does get up injured. Telles is not the person who can actually come in and do a job. And I think this season, Luke Shaw is one of those players who fit into that category. If Malaysia does get injured, can Luke Shaw perform to that quality? Can he perform to that levels? Will Ten Hag be willing to, work with a player of his profile? Because it is a good thing that he's a different player than Malaysia. I think they both offer us something completely different, which is good to have in one position. That it offers us some unpredictability when we actually come up against certain opponents. But he needs to get into some form. He needs to actually show that he can do a job for us, because Ten Hag isn't the kind of manager who's going to wait around for 1 or 2 seasons to actually see the best of Luke Shaw. If he wants to stay at Manchester United, he needs to perform within the next 3 to 4 months. And I think the World Cup is going to be definitely big for him. And except that, I think for him, the volume of games that we're going to have in the upcoming weeks, it's going to be really key for him to perform in those games. Otherwise, he'll be gone.
Yeah. He's had inconsistencies throughout his full career since he's been at United. Luke Shaw for 8 years he's been here. He's had 6 months where he's looked like half decent, and you've been like, yeah, we can get something out of him. He had Shawberto. It looked like he was on the rise, and then he kind of started the season again. He just looked a little bit shaky and stuff. A few people in the chat. Neat Aspirant, sorry if I completely butchered your name. Aspirant, apologies. It says, let's go. Big up yourself. Zoe's Media saying, hey guys, big up to you, Zoe Media, as well. A regular who's always in the chat. And big up everyone else if they're watching live or if they're going to be watching later on. I want to move on to Portugal. During the international break, Shreyas, they beat Czech Republic 4-0 and lost to Spain 1-0. Ronaldo, again, another player under a lot of criticism at the moment. He hasn't scored from open play, both for club and country, since June the 5th. Signs of his age starting to show, in my personal opinion. This could be his final tournament. I feel like the Portuguese manager's got a massive decision to make. And maybe, Cristiano realises it. But on the flip side of things, he still might sit people down. He might come back. He might score in the derby. All is forgotten. And it's like the king is back. So how do you feel about the Ronaldo situation at the moment?
I think, if I'm going to be honest with you, we have this conversation about Ronaldo, I would say almost every single season when he's moved from Real Madrid, like at Juventus. I think this kind of thing happens to him when he, it happened last season as well. Before the Tottenham game, he only scored in like once in 2 months against Brighton, and then he was on a big goal route, and everyone was questioning, whether even we would be willing to actually make him stay for the next season, with whether he is the right guy to bank on, considering we're going to have a new manager. Will it be a stable future? He came in, he scored a hat-trick against Tottenham, went on a goal scoring flurry and got 18 goals in the Premier League, and that's what he's pretty much done his entire career. People have written him off on so many occasions, on numerous occasions, but he's come back stronger than ever. He's shown why he's one of the best in the world, one of the best players to ever play football. And I think Manchester City is pretty much the perfect setting for him to make his comeback. Because even considering if Rashford would have been fit, I still think Ronaldo would have been used in that game. Because when you come up against a team like Manchester City, you need that kind of smartness in the box. You can't really rotate about with pace or bank on getting in behind, because they're not like Liverpool. They're much more organized at the back, and they have, I would say, a much more balanced game plan, and they're very fast with their transitions and movements, unlike Liverpool. So I think the thing is, I would say, till the time Ronaldo is playing football, you can never write him off. You can never count him out, because it just takes him just 5 seconds to actually turn the complexion of a game. That's the kind of ability and quality he brings. And if he is able to kick into form, it's ultimately going to benefit us.
Well, if rumours are to be believed about Rashford and Martial still being injured, then we're going to have to bank on him, and hopefully produces a moment. His Portuguese teammate Diogo Dalot has had a fantastic international break, continuing his form. 2 goals against Czech Republic, played really well in that game, probably the most informed player out of our lads on the international break, and seems to be growing by the minute, doesn't he, Shreyas?
Yeah, I think he's starting to actually express himself much in a much more composed way on the pitch. I think he looks far more confident.
Express is the perfect word. I would say.
I think he now looks much more comfortable when he's playing, because at times it used to look like he's trying too hard. He's taking more pressure than required at times, because he's not getting regular game time. But now he's, I think, in a much secure position, and that's why he's able to perform much better. um I think there will still be a few games where he would give lackluster performances because he's still young. He still needs to mature up a bit. But
Yeah.
I think after a few seasons we'll be able to see him, like, in his perfect mold, because right now we'll be seeing ups and downs. And I think with growing fullbacks, I think it is a recurring theme that they have ups and downs, but
Yeah.
ultimately if they have the quality, they are able to generate that kind of traction from them. And I think Delo is definitely one of those players. I think he has that ability to, be a Manchester United right back. I think he definitely has the quality for it, because I think the biggest positive about him is he's eliminating his weaknesses game after game. Like, we used to say that he's not that great defensively. Right now, he's one of the best fullbacks in the league when it comes to, taking care of
On
ground
form
balls.
for
Yeah. And
Yeah,
taking a
on form for sure.
exactly, definitely, he's
100%.
one of the best out there right now. His stats are amazing, and he links up really, really well with Lisandro Martinez, as well as Christian Eriksen, as well as the full winger who's playing ahead of him. Whenever Jadon Sancho and Dalot are playing together, they link up really, really well. And that right hand flank just gets more creativity ultimately. So I think Delo is just going to get better and better. I think once again he's another player which needs a little protection because he's still young. He is going to have some dips in form, and that is something that you would actually expect from someone like him. But I think in the upcoming seasons we could be looking at a really, really serious talent.
Yeah, I remember McTominay saying when he had like Wan-Bissaka, when he got on the ball and he was looking for options, he had Wan-Bissaka there, he had Fred there,
Yeah,
and he had, I don't know, whoever it was, Dan James on the right hand side or whatever. And it was like people need the pieces of the puzzle to move around him so they can break the lines, or they've got an opening forward pass. And Dalot provides that. His positional awareness
yeah,
is much better now, and he's improved on that, and he keeps improving every single day. So yeah, he's looking really good. The last kind of Portuguese player I want to touch on, Bruno Fernandez. Again, 1 goal, 1 assist against Czech Republic. Looked decent against Spain. Seems to be quietly improving. I remember we was having a discussion
yeah,
a couple of weeks ago about Bruno, and we was like, he's not like doing like obvious things where you're like, wow, and yeah, he's back to the thing, but he seems like he's slowly
exactly.
on an upwards trajectory.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? And just as a side question, what do you make of Portugal's chances in general in the World Cup? Probably the best talent that you feel.
I think when it comes to Bruno, I think people were just so used to, seeing him getting a goal or even an assist, even when he used to play bad, um, that after a point of time, was tough for them to see him actually perform poorly. But I think under Ten Hag, he looks, I think, slowly and steadily he's getting there. I think overall his game style, I think he's adapted a lot. I think he's changed a few things about his play style as well. He looks, I think another factor about this is he looks much, much better with someone like Christian Eriksen around him. I think the reason he's playing so well right now is because he doesn't have to drop that deep into the box, or he doesn't really have to generate the attack basically from our box and just move it forward. I think the reason that Eriksen is able to do well is getting the best out of Bruno. And I think there are still a few steps for him to get back to the level he actually can get to, but it is on an upward trajectory. I think even for Portugal, he's looking good. For us, I think giving him the captain's armband has helped his confidence a lot as well, because he looks like a leader on that pitch. He looks more commanding, and overall, I think it has done his game a big favor, giving him the captain's armband. And overall, the team looked I think overall the team looks much better with him being the captain, and it is going to be very tricky as to how we deal with the captaincy issue now, because Bruno has pretty much got a 100% win record whenever he's been playing for us as a captain. So it is going to be pretty interesting. But yes, I think by the time a few more weeks roll in, by the time we reach that mid-season period, I think that's when Bruno will actually be able to kick in. I think the the moment that happens, we'll be able to, look far, far, far more sharper in the attack. Because right now, I think Sancho looks good. I think Rashford is getting back to his best as well. He looks on an upward trajectory as well. Anthony is still adapting to the league. And Bruno is still going up step by step. So, in a way, till the time that period comes in, Anthony would be much more better and comfortable in the squad. Bruno might be able to, he might be able to get more used to the Ten Hag system. He might be able to, uh, at times when he hesitates a bit in making that pass, because when Bruno came in the against Wolves, the biggest thing that used to eliminate him from other midfielders that we had at that point of time was his ability to make that pass in the split of a second. His vision was impeccable. I think that's what he needs to work on right now. If he is able to work on that, I think he's going to be back to his best pretty soon, because Ten Hag likes to have a possession based team style. I think if Bruno is able to adapt to that, we'll have a really, really good and sharp attack. And Portugal's chances, I think they have got a really, really good chance, because if you look into their squad as a whole, they've got a lot of world class players in there. You've got Joao Cancelo, you've got Ruben Diaz, you've got the likes of Ronaldo, Joao Felix, Bruno Fernandez, Bernardo Silva, Rafael Leao from AC Milan looks really, really good as well.
Yeah.
You've got Renato Sanchez, Paulinho from Fulham as well. He looks like a really good CDM to have in that system. So, and Diogo Dalot is on an up, he's playing really, really well. And overall, their squad looks really, really balanced. I would say it looks far more better than the squads they had in the in the last few seasons in the Euros, or even the or even the World Cup. I think this time they do have a serious shot at winning it. Considering it would be Ronaldo's last World Cup, I would say, opportunity as well.
Ronaldo
He
versus
wouldn't
Messi.
exactly, and plus, I think for both of them, I would say neither of them would want to waste this opportunity. It's their last one.
Yeah.
We'll be pretty much seeing the best of Messi and Ronaldo, I would say, in this tournament, because even if they might not be able to get that many goals or assists, I think the drive and passion that they will bring into this tournament, I don't think any other player would be able to match that. So I think Portugal definitely are one of the biggest contenders out there, because you look at the biggest squads around Europe, they've got Portuguese players in there. They definitely have
Yeah.
got Portuguese players in there.
Like infecting the squad, especially look at Wolves. They've got
Yeah,
like their front six the other day against City. Well, say the other day, the other week when they played Manchester City in the league, they had like 6 players in the team that was
exactly.
Portuguese. So
Yeah,
they've got a heavy,
and they've got
heavy.
depth in
But
there
even
as well.
the Prem in general, if you look at it, they've got heavily a lot of Portuguese
Yeah,
players
yeah, yeah, yeah.
doing well,
And
succeeding as well. So yeah,
I think
definitely they're the
uh,
best crop at the minute.
definitely, and I think the biggest factor is they've got depth in there as well. They've got the likes of Ruben Neves. They've got so many talents. They've got so many versatile players, I would say,
Neto,
as well. Yeah,
Pedro Neto as
Pedro
well,
Neto as
class
well.
player.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
I think it is going to be difficult. I think even when it comes to their defense, they've got good backup opportunities. I think they've still Pepe is still playing, so I think they're a very, very well rounded and balanced
Yeah.
squad.
Got a nice blend of experience and youth.
Exactly.
That's what you
Yeah,
want,
yeah.
especially for international games. Anyway, I want to move on to Brazil because we've got quite a few players to dive into there. We've got Alex Telles starting Brazil at the moment as their main left back. Obviously, it hasn't worked out for Manchester United with us, which is why he's gone on loan to Sevilla. But do you still think he can do job for other clubs? He's starting as a main left back for Brazil, which is a pretty big statement in itself. You've got Lode there, who's I think he's gone on loan to Nottingham from
Yeah, yeah,
Atletico
yeah,
Madrid.
yeah.
You got a couple others, but yeah, he seems to be starting every game for Brazil. Alex Telles.
Yeah, I think when it comes to their national team, he could still do a job, because with Brazil, the thing is, the only thing they know is to attack. Basically, the only
Yeah.
thing they do is attack, attack, attack throughout the whole
Mm.
90. So even when it comes to defending, I think if you have to look at a Brazil game, they'll maximum they would defend in a game is 20 minutes. So yes, I think there is a good position for him to fill in when it comes to the left back position of Brazil, because Marcelo is aging. Even though he's still there, he's not at the level he used to be. Except that,
Yeah,
like you
nowhere
mentioned,
near.
yeah, I think Renan Lodi isn't really, I would say, a stable option for them. I think that's why Telles is getting the game time that he's getting right now. But I think for when it comes to Europe, when it comes to teams like Manchester United, I don't think that he's the guy because at Sevilla right now he's being used as a versatile player. He in so many games he's actually being used as a left winger. He's not really being used as a left back. He's being used as a left winger. So I think
Doesn't
this,
surprise me, to be honest, because
yeah, yeah,
technically he's a good player, but defensively, as we know, that game against Arsenal in particular, he was so out of position so many times. He just got caught constantly. But set pieces, free kicks,
yeah.
and crossing,
I think
we know he's class at.
in a way you can say Telles is the only player who could cost Brazil the World Cup.
I mean, yeah, you look at they were my pick for winning the World Cup.
Exactly.
Brazil, I think they're going to win it. And you look at the depth they've got, even at centre back. Like you've got Thiago Silva, who's still performing very well in the Premier League. Marquinhos, Militao for Real Madrid. Like they've got as much depth as Portugal have. You look at
And
the
when you
attacking
look at their
areas
attack,
midfield.
and the moment you look at their attack, Neymar, they've got
Yeah,
Richarlison, they've got Vinicius Junior, Anthony,
Rafinha
Rafinha,
as
exactly.
well.
They've got so many talented players
Yeah,
in there. Even in their midfield, they've got Casemiro. They've got such depth in their
yeah.
midfield as well.
Paqueta, Guimaraes. They've
Yeah,
got so yeah. I think Brazil will be a shout. You mentioned the midfield, Casemiro, a main starter for Brazil. Obviously, no surprise there. Still needs to adapt to the pace of the Premier League, as we've spoken about a couple of times on the channel. Do you think he'll come good at United? Do you think he'll eventually push McTominay out of that spot, which is just a mad sentence in itself? But do you think he'll push McTominay out of that spot and make it his own? And
yeah.
how soon do you think? How long do you think it'll take for him to adapt to the Prem? I know it's hard to say.
I think he could be starting in the derby. I definitely feel the vibes for Casemiro
Oh,
actually starting in the
that's a
derby.
big shout. What? And
Yeah,
you think McTominay gets dropped?
I think we might be seeing McTominay as well as Casemiro both being picked. That's the thing because Rashford and Martial are both. I think the reason I'm saying it is because Rashford and Martial are both injured.
Well,
Uh,
Zoe's
yeah.
media TV they put there. Marshall should be back for City. So I'm not sure where you've seen that. Let us know if you've seen it
I
online
think
or whatever, Zoe. But
even though he'll be back, I don't think he'll be playing the full 90 because the thing that
yeah,
was reported was he's done his Achilles. So it isn't an injury that should be taken lightly because if it
of
gets worse,
course.
he'll be out for the season. Like
Yeah,
now I can say that he'll be out for the season if it gets worse. So I think considering we won't really have a striker who could press that much for the full 90, he could be looking for some for Casemiro as well as McTominay. Then maybe Eriksen being used as a false nine. I think that is something that could actually be used in that game. But yeah, I think in the future I definitely do see Casemiro definitely making that position his own because the thing is right now we are seeing McTominay at his best. This is consistent McTominay. Uh
Prime McTominay.
yeah, this is the best. With Casemiro, the thing is his best is miles ahead of
Yeah,
McTominay's best, and it doesn't have to do with what McTominay does as a player. I think it just has to do with the fact that he's got more quality to offer than McTominay.
yeah.
So I think Casemiro will definitely come into the squad, and in the future we would be looking at Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno as our main trio for the midfield. How it gets shaped up, whether McTominay still, I think McTominay would be a very good, considering how he's playing right now. I think it would be the best option to have as a rotational player. I think he could, come in when considering the volume of games we have. I think McTominay is the perfect pick to have to actually rotate about with Casemiro. Uh, I think the question that we had at the start of the season was who will actually be staying at Manchester United? Will it be Fred or will it be McTominay? And right now, McTominay is winning the race for actually staying at
Well,
Man United.
I'm glad you mentioned Fred there because that was the next player who I
Yeah,
was going to touch
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Usually starts alongside Casemiro for Brazil, but didn't play in the Ghana game.
yeah.
However, you got 80 minutes against Tunisia and another player who features for Brazil quite a lot. It's quite nice to have our players at United anyway get regular game time for the respective nations, even though they might not be playing for the club. We just mentioned Tellers there,
Yeah.
who's out on loan, a main starter. Fred is usually a main starter alongside him. So, do you think that's healthy going into the World Cup because of the amount of games we've got coming up this season?
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think it does the confidence of the players a big favor as well because even they have, that security in their mind that even though they're not playing for the club, they will be playing for their countries and they will be featuring for the world in the World Cup for them. Because right now, I think every single player who's playing right now, I think the only picture that they have in their mind is the World Cup right now, and all they want to do is to feature for their nations in it, which I completely understand as well. So if it would have been a situation where Fred wouldn't have been getting time for Manchester United, and that would have been the reason why he isn't being picked for Brazil, I think then we could have seen a couple of issues being coming out from the club, that Fred isn't happy or something like that. But till the time he's getting picked, till the time he's happy with the role that he's in right now, I think we don't
Yeah,
really have a problem. Yeah,
it doesn't seem to be throwing his toys out the
exactly,
pram. So
exactly,
I don't think we
exactly.
need to worry about Fred,
Yeah,
to be honest. The last Brazilian player I want to touch on, Antony, got a brief 25-minute cameo. Um, he's certainly, well, sorry, just to put it out there, Brazil beat Ghana 3-0 and he
yeah.
beat Tunisia 5-1, just to let you guys know about the results wise. But yeah, Antony got a brief 25-minute cameo. He can be a great option for Brazil. You mentioned Vinicius before, who's one of my favourite players and is absolutely killing it for Real Madrid at the minute. And they've got Rafinha on the right-hand side, who's been in great form for them and great form for Barcelona. Can you see Antony potentially pushing any of them for the spots?
I think he could. Um, if he's able to kick into some form, he definitely could. I think right now he is the backup option for them
Yeah,
because
just a bit behind him in it at the
yeah,
moment. It's just a little
exactly.
bit
And
behind him.
considering yeah, and I think even being a backup right now for that Brazil team isn't a bad option because
Yeah,
I mean the thing is that who will you drop? Even if you have to pick Anthony, who will you drop in that lineup? Vinicius, will you drop Neymar?
you can't drop.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah,
my point. So I think Anthony still has to develop his game a bit. I think he's not a bad player. I think he's a really, really gifted player, and I think he could turn into a very, very special gem in the future. But I think like just at the moment, if I had to, pick the players from Brazil to start in those starting spots as a winger, Vinicius is undroppable right now. I think Vinicius is in the best form of his life. I think considering Neymar is actually doing really, really well, both for PSG as well as Brazil. And I think when it comes to Brazil, Richarlison is actually really, really impactful as well. So I think once again in football, you never really know who gets picked ahead at times. There's still 8 to 9 weeks for the World Cup to kick in. So
could have injuries or anything, couldn't you?
exactly my point. Considering the volume of games that the clubs are going to have, injuries are going to be something that have to be looked out on. And Anthony could be getting picked ahead of certain players. You never know. But I think with the case with Brazil is just that they've got so much talent. They've got, I would say, I think they're one of the best options. If you have to
Do you know
actually,
what?
yeah.
I didn't even think about Gabriel Jesus either. He just popped into bed now. Like, they completely forgot about him. Like, mad, like Roberto Firmino, who can still do a job as well. Like, they've got so
Yeah,
many talents. It's unreal.
yeah, and that's why I said that when it comes to their attack, they've got crazy good depth, and they've got
Mm,
players who could offer more quality than certain players. You never really know. I think the only area where they lack is that fullback is in their both of their fullback positions. I think if they are able to fill that with the same amount of quality that they filled their midfield and attack with, I think we definitely could be seeing an all-star lineup, I would say. I think
yeah.
it would be a much similar lineup to Portugal's. Like we've mentioned, they've got depth, they've got quality at every single position. I think Brazil is also definitely one of them. And yes, I think the next few weeks are going to be key, especially with injuries, especially with these players who's going to definitely be picked for the World Cup because 3 to 4 games every single week isn't really easy.
Yeah, I think if Neymar, Rafinha, Vinicius plays like that, stay fit for him, I think Brazil are going to win it. I
Yeah.
honestly do. I want to move on to Denmark, who lost to Croatia 2-1, but beat the favourites France 2-0. Eriksen scored an absolute banger against Croatia, created loads of chances against France, and it feels like Christian Eriksen is starting to get into his prime right now. Like, looking at the way he's performing, he was good at Brentford. And I thought, and when we was discussing initially that the signing for Brentford, we was like, that's a great signing for them. They need a creative spark, etc., etc. And then it comes to United. There's a few kind of, free transfer, not bad
Yeah.
business. We take him or whatever. But he has been so fucking important to the way we play. And Severe mentioned last night, he was like, listen, if Eriksen gets injured, we're fucked. It's back to McFred.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly.
it's back to Bruno being isolated. We're gonna discuss Eriksen a little bit later, Shreya, so just try to keep it light on him for now.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
just your thoughts on Eriksen for Denmark and Denmark's potential chances.
I think Denmark are dark horses in my opinion. I think they did really, really well in the Euros tournament as well. I think they've got a few good players in there, like you mentioned, Ericsson. They've got Christensen in there as well. They've got Forsberg. They've got, I think,
Damsgaard as well,
yeah,
who's a top
Damsgaard.
player.
I think they've got a blend of different and good players, I would say. Players who,
Mm,
don't really strike your eye, but on the pitch, they do the
yeah.
job really, really well. I think
As a
they're
team, like a
exactly.
collective.
They think they're one of those teams, that come together as a system and they play really well in that system. And those players are built for that system as well. So, Denmark, I think they definitely could. I think that's one of the reasons why they went so deep into the Euros as well. So, Denmark for me definitely are dark horses shouts. They definitely are. I think once again Ericsson is one of their most creative outlets. He right now I think he's playing with the same amount of freedom that he plays in United for Denmark as well. I think he is actually really really happy playing as an eight. I think he said it himself as well that thinks that the best position for him to actually play in is that number eight position. So I think uh, when we actually signed him, I didn't really expect him to have this amount of an impact on us. That
I don't think anyone did, though, to be
yeah,
fair. You might have had the odd one who was out
yeah.
there
I
who was like,
think
yeah,
every
he's
single person just thought that he'll be back up to Bruno, or maybe he could be
exactly.
used on the wings, something like that. But he's come
Yeah,
in, he's made that central midfielder position for him, and right now he's one of those players who everything kind of relies on. Every single thing for us relies on the fitness of Christian Eriksen because,
yeah,
like you mentioned, if Eriksen gets injured, who is gonna be coming in? Casemiro McTominay, Casemiro Fred McTominay. We can't
yeah.
really have that again. So
No creativity there at
exactly my
all, is
point.
there?
So
Yeah,
yes, I think Eriksen is one of those players who's undroppable, and like Ten Hag has said it himself as well. He's fundamental to the way we play.
yeah. I want to move on to France. Beat in the same group as Denmark, beat Austria 2-0, but then, as we just mentioned, then lost to
Yeah,
Denmark
yeah,
2-0. Raphael Varane again being a leader for France in the heart of that defence. He was actually playing centre back when they beat Austria 2-0, but when they lost
yeah,
to
yeah,
Denmark, it was Saliba who was in that squad. So could tell you a little something there. The stats with and without him are astronomical. Like
yeah,
they're so far apart. Our stats with him, that if you look at him and without, same with France as well. When
yeah.
Varane starts, it is facts that he is one of the top centre backs in that team. He's performing phenomenal at the minute. Just the
Yeah.
only thing is, which is mad to say this, he's come back injury free, right? Which is just like straight away we're like, oh my god, that deserves a clap. And Maguire's come back injured, so it seems like the reverse kind of roles in that sense. I don't know what training program that Ten Hag has put Varane on, whether it's like fucking Anabol and Weetabix and steroids and shit. I have no idea what he's feeding him. But whatever it is, whatever diet he's put him on, I want to know because Varane has so far, fingers crossed, hasn't picked up an injury yet.
Yeah.
Are we hopeful that he can stay injury free at least for a little
Yeah,
bit?
I think we finally hit the perfect balance with Varane not getting injured and Maguire getting injured. I think right now it is that we found the perfect balance in our team. Um, Once again, I think this is the only reason why I think France are not really, catching my eye as contenders for the World Cup because they depend a lot on Varane. We've seen that as Manchester United, we depend on Varane. It is the same for France as well because
Yeah,
once again, he's one of the best centre backs in the world. He's achieved a lot with for club as well as country. He's very very impactful. Whenever he plays, his presence is felt as well. And if he doesn't play, you see the lack and drop in quality for us, even for France. And I think this is the first time. I think this is the longest stint for Varane being injury free for us,
yeah.
and I hope it continues longer because considering we have the derby coming up against City, we definitely need someone like Rafael Varane to be in there. Uh, I think I think this is the best back four we've had in quite some time.
For a while.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
quite some
it's
time.
been a hot minute. I think
Yeah,
the last time since was fucking out. Even under Fergie, when we won the league the
yeah,
last kind of year, 2012-13, it weren't the best backline.
yeah,
It had the right blend of experience and stuff. But looking at this now, you've got Lissandro's 24, you've got Malasiri's 20, 21, I think, Dalot's 23,
yeah.
and then Varane's at the right age, 28, 29, I
28,
think,
29,
something
yeah.
like that. You've got the perfect like potential there to work with each other for the next kind of thing. And
Exactly.
that's something we've always said as well, that the back line needs to play consistently with each other. Last year we kept chopping and changing and different centre back partnerships, and it was just ruining the rhythm, especially when you've got so many games consistently coming at you. And they actually threw Varane and Lissandro cold into that Liverpool game, and they've just
Exactly.
since that
Yeah.
game they've performed so well. It's been a breath of fresh air. Look, I could sit here and talk about Rafa Varane all day. I really could. I want to move it on to Scotland, who beat Ukraine 3-0, beat Ireland 2-1. We'll very briefly talk about McTominay because we kind of already have, but he played on the right side of that pivot in both games. Didn't exactly light it up, but done the job that you ask of a midfielder and continued his form for his country. The question I want to ask you is, but I think you've kind of already answered it, is do you think he'll be a starter in the derby? Do you think he's nailed on to start?
Yeah. I think this is the first time that I would say it, and yes, he is, because
You were sounding a little bit hesitant about saying that. Then you was like,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
the
But
thing has
he's been playing
always,
well.
exactly, the thing has always been, we haven't really been able to drop McTominay when he was playing bad, and now that he's playing good,
Yeah,
I don't understand how we'll drop him when he's playing good.
yeah. It's
So
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know how, but for some reason, once again, he's able to fit in much better into Ten Hag's plans than Casemiro, which I don't really understand how I'm saying this, but it is true. And
Yeah. That's a bit of a
McTominay,
dream, innit? You just want to like slap yourself and just wake up and be like,
yeah,
all right,
because
okay, all
I
right.
think once again, McTominay is the kind of player, I think, who every Manchester United fan actually wanted to play well, because you see that passion, you see that energy, and that charisma from him whenever he plays. He has a really, really good work ethic. I think he's very, very dedicated towards the club as well. It has always been a question of how he actually performs on the pitch, and the quality that he actually brings to the table. But um now that he is playing well, I think he right now, like Eriksen, he can't really be dropped. I think he has to be picked against City in the derby. If he doesn't get picked, I wouldn't really mind if Casemiro gets picked ahead of him. I completely understand that as well. But yeah, I think for now, McTominay won't be dropped. Um, the reason he could be dropped would be the amount of games, I think, right now, because we don't really, want to have a situation wherein you've got McTominay playing 3 games a week, then maybe there's a
Especially with the
knock
way
or
he
something.
plays, isn't it?
Exactly my point. And um, there's going to be a lot of intensity in that derby as well. So you would want someone like McTominay to be in there. You
Yeah.
would want, and
Someone kicking shit out of the players. That's what you
exactly,
want.
and that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I actually want McTominay and Casemiro both to feature in that game, because considering we don't have Martial or Rashford, we do need to have we do need to offer that defensive stability and defensive sturdiness, because we won't really be pressing that much from the front in the throughout the whole 90. So
Yeah.
I think having Casemiro as well as McTominay, and then you've got Varane and Martinez behind them as well, I think it offers much more defensive prowess. And I think it perfectly, breaks apart the play style of City, because City, they like to play fast, fluid football. They pass, 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 and pass. Casemiro is one of the players who likes to disrupt passing. He's done that. He did it last season against City when he was playing
Yeah.
for Madrid. And McTominay is once again one of those players who doesn't really hesitate in, uh, matching the opponent when it comes to physicality. I think he's able to do that really well, and even up against Arsenal, he was doing it very well. Up against the likes of Sambi Lokonga, up against Gabriel Jesus as well. So yes, I think McTominay is definitely going to be picked, and I hope he's able to complete. He's able to stay on this path of consistency, because this is the best version of McTominay that we are seeing. He's playing good week in and week out.
Yeah. And long may it continue. He's in very good form at the minute, and looking form, you'll get the friend, you'll get the partner back, and you'll get the rewards. So yeah, let's see how he gets on and if he starts on Sunday against Manchester City. Moving on to the next country, Netherlands. We've got the last couple of ones here now.
Yeah,
Netherlands beat Poland 2-0, beat Belgium 1-0. They're in very good form under Louis van Gaal, a former United manager. Malacia scored a banger in training. I'm not sure if you saw it with
yeah,
the
I said
outside of his foot. Yeah, absolute
yeah,
belting goal. And Van Gaal was like, oh, Malacia, Malacia.
yeah.
Only got 45 minutes against Belgium and actually played centre back for him, replacing Nathan Ake, which is mental. But got plenty of years in him. Be interesting to see him play as wing back as well, I think, because obviously they play with a back five.
Yeah,
But Blind is currently the number one guy there, and you can't really blame him. He's very seasoned
yeah,
international pro. Can play anywhere on the pitch. It's super intelligent, so he seems like a Van Gaal player. And I'm pretty sure Van Gaal was playing him when he was at United as well. So
yeah,
yeah, but the thing is with him, he isn't getting any younger. Shreyas. So Malacia will be looking at that spot, won't he? Do you think, and be like, I can take that up. There's
yeah.
no other left back I can think of at the minute for Netherlands who can compete with him.
I think once again, I think Van Gaal has always been the manager who actually, he likes to bank on experience more than ability, and that's why Daley Blind gets picked a lot. And he plays really well for his age, and I think he fits right into that Netherlands system. So yeah, but I think in the coming, I think 1 to 2 years, Malacia is going to be the starting left wing back for them. I think Malacia has got a really, really good future ahead of him as well. Uh, he's very, very attacking. When it comes to defending, he's very, very aggressive as well, which you actually need from a fullback at times as well, just to maintain the momentum and
Yeah.
maintain the energy. You need that kind of aggressive fullback who doesn't hesitate in going in for the tackle. And for such a young fullback coming in from Feyenoord to have a debut against Liverpool and completely pocketing Mo Salah, I think that is going to that has done his confidence wonders. Definitely it has. And once again, like you mentioned, Varane and Martinez were thrown in cold into that Liverpool game. Malacia was thrown in cold into that game as well, and he did really, really well. So I think Malacia, once again, like Dallo, I would say, I think it is going to come down to how well he is able to adapt to the league and how quick he is able to adapt to the league, because I think he's a quick learner. I think he's able to learn from his mistakes very well, and Ten Hag likes to bank on him. Ten Hag trusts him as well. He's picked him ahead of Luke Shaw. I think Ten Hag isn't the kind of guy who hesitates in benching those kind of players. He's benched Ronaldo, he's benched Maguire, and he's then benched Luke Shaw. And he's picked Malacia ahead of Luke Shaw, and Malacia has proved him right in doing so. So I think Netherlands having Malacia and Daley Blind, I think they have that. Once again, they've got that good blend of experience as well as having that young player who can learn off from Blind, grow more into that role, get more experience, and probably become the starting fullback for Netherlands in the upcoming years.
Yeah, and another new signing for us,
Yeah,
Lisandro Martinez, was in action against Honduras, where they won 3-0. They beat Argentina, beat Jamaica 3-0 as well, I believe. But in that Honduras game specifically, he was absolutely solid. He had 97% pass accuracy on the pitch, put in a solid performance. And the thing is with Argentina, right, they've always had, you think back over the years, they've always had great attackers. They've always had like a
yeah,
wealth of
yeah,
options.
yeah, yeah.
Like Aguero, Messi, Di Maria, Tevez, like the list is
Exactly.
Higuain in his
Yeah,
pomp. The list is endless, but they've always been scrutinised for the defence. Now Lisandro comes into that. Um, they've got a couple. I can't remember for some reason off the top of my head. I had the other ones in my head. In terms of Argentinian defenders, but they've got a couple more good options in there. Romero was the one I was
Romero
thinking
is
of.
there.
Yeah,
Senesi is there as well,
yeah.
I think.
Exactly. So you got Romero and Lisandro, who could be a great centre back partnership for him. Do you think that could take him up to the next level now? Because they've always reached like semi-finals, finals. Could someone like Lisandro and a Romero put him up there? Do you think
Yeah,
really give him a good chance
yeah.
at the World Cup?
I think mm, Lisandro Martinez I think is a very special player. I think
Yeah,
he'll have a really, really good career. I definitely believe that he'll have a very, very good career. Whether he stays at Manchester United in the next 5 years or so, I don't really know that. But wherever he goes, I think he'll have a really good career.
yeah,
And for Argentina, once again, they're just coming off a Copa America win. And once again, they are one of the favorites. I think even in their midfield, they look really, really good. Once again, their attack looks amazing. They've got Lautaro Martinez, they've got Messi, they've got the likes of Paulo Dybala in there as well, and you've got some new upcoming talents in Alejandro Garnacho being taken up as well. So I think they've got a really good chance. I think they definitely do. I think the midfield looks good. The attack looks good. Having Romero and Lisandro Martinez does really help them because both of them are really good at maintaining pressure and actually playing the ball out from the back. They're really good when it comes to 1v1s, and they're both very, very aggressive. And I think they've
An
got a good.
Argentinian, aggressive.
Yeah, and maybe you never really know. I think the thing is with having aggressive centre backs, having centre backs who like to push up with the ball forward and are good with the ball with their feet. I think it overall helps in even if you have a weak midfield, it gets diminished a bit because the the defense plays such a high line that it ultimately links up with the midfield. So we've practically got six players to deal with, and right now I think Argentina have got a really, really good system. I think it in this system Messi is able to get involved quite a lot, and he's able to perform quite well in this system as well. Having someone like a Lautaro Martinez up top actually helps him out a lot, I would say as well. And yeah, I think things might change. I think things once again 8 weeks are going to be key. Who's going to get picked? Who's going to get shortlisted? I think these 8 weeks are going to be key for every single player who wants to actually go to the World Cup. And you never know. Fingers crossed. And I think with Lisandro Martinez, I think I think he's one of the reasons why, for quite some time going into a game like Manchester City, I'm much more relieved when it comes to seeing the defensive side of things. I'm much more composed seeing that, even if our attack isn't able to play that well, I know that my defense is going to, be able to hold on the fort. And that hasn't really happened in the past 5 to 6 years, that you can bank on your, Manchester United defense up against Manchester City.
He's been another one that if you take him out of United's team and we have to replace him, we're absolutely
Harry
fucked.
Maguire.
So yeah, I hope he stays injury free as well. Sandro. The last international team I want to touch on is Spain. A lot of people will be thinking, "What you want about, Nick? No United players played from Spain in the international break." David De Gea is someone who I wanted to mention, did not feature for Spain, wasn't even like a third choice keeper. I feel like it's a very interesting topic. Luis Enrique doesn't trust him due to similar concerns that some of the lads on the channel share. How much damage will that cause to David De Gea? Not even, or even confidence in general, not being a third choice keeper for Spain, but especially when he's looking at some of the other players that are in that team or the goalkeepers that are starting. Like that's Unai Simon.
Yeah,
Who's
Unai
starting in net
Simon.
for him.
Yeah,
Simon, they had Rayo on the bench, Sanchez,
yeah,
Brighton's keeper, I
yeah.
think, on the bench. Not even featuring. Not even going to the World Cup, probably. Is that not mad?
I think that's one of the reasons why Spain won't win. Uh, I think,
Wow, big statement.
yeah, I think you definitely have to take if someone like David De Gea. I think when it comes to experience, he's the most experienced keeper they have. When it comes to once again his shot stopping ability is by far the best when if I have to compare it with the other keepers of Spain. And I think even if you have to l- cut it down just to distribution, he is getting better. He is growing in that area as well. He might not be the greatest, but definitely there are some positive signs to it. And I think not taking someone like the hair doesn't really set right with me because it is like having someone who's got so much to offer and you're not taking him. He's been one of the best, I would say, goalkeepers in Europe at a particular point of time, I would say. And overall I think for Luis Enrique to do that, I would say it is going to take a lot. Definitely it has to take a lot because I think still, even at this point, the quality that David De Gea brings is something that any club would want to have with them because you've got every single distribution keeper you would want. We've seen keepers as well having their ups and downs in their careers. Biggest keepers in the world having stinkers, but um, I think the World Cup is too big of an event for Enrique to not pick him, even as a third choice, I would say.
Yeah, a lot of decisions to be made within the
Yeah,
next couple of weeks. A lot of games to be played as well. But yeah, it's exciting times ahead of the World Cup. International break is officially over now, and we move into the Premier League. So the last couple of topical items I want to touch before we head off. The Denmark coach
yeah,
Jasper Hjulmand, I think it's how you pronounce it, I'm not entirely sure, and Bruno Fernandez have been speaking about Christian Eriksen. The coach has said Eriksen's so clear about everything he does on a football field. The man can't be stressed on a football pitch. He's so calm, so smart, and plays with such great energy. It really is a pleasure to experience. Eriksen shows what he is, a world-class player. He not only has the X factor, he also delivers great running work and is involved in all phases. No one can doubt that he's an incredibly important player. I think I can agree with that. And Bruno Fernandez said, it's really good to play with Christian Eriksen. He's a player that can find the passes, find the pockets, and obviously makes my game easier, which we touched on before. Because he finds me when I move between the lines. It's something that isn't easy to do. I'm really happy to have him on the team because, as I've said before, he's a quality player. He's a player who showed in the past that he has really good qualities in the Premier League, in the Italian League, even for his national team. What do we do if Christian? I know we kind of touched on it before, but what do we do if Christian Eriksen gets injured? Do you think someone like Donny van der Beek can fill that void? Because they're different kind of players, aren't they?
I think he definitely could because Fred can't. We've seen that Fred can't do that role. He can't do that role as an eight. He can't really do that role as a six, and he can't really do that role as an eight. Where would Fred be used next is still a mystery. I think whether it's a
Not as a
striker,
10. Fucking it. Oh, anyway, I
imagine him
hope
as a
so.
centre back. You never really know where Ten Hag wants to
He's played
experiment
left
him.
back under Ole.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember that. They
yeah,
brought
no,
him
I
on as a
know.
left back.
Yeah. So, and once again, I think the mystery with Fred continues with which position will he be, tried on in next. But yeah, like you said as well, Ericsson, the impact that he's had, no one really imagined him to have this sort of an impact for us. Uh, well, I think Donny might be able to fill that role. I think Donny would definitely be able to fill that role much better than Fred. And we haven't really seen that much of Donny in this Ten Hag system to actually, make a comment about it. I think there is the jury is still out for Donny van de Beek. I think I'm still actually waiting to, see him feature for us, see what he can actually bring to the table. Because if he can actually, even do 50% of the job that Ericsson is able to do right now on the pitch, we'll actually be in a really, really comfortable position. Because that's what you actually, would want from a replacement player. And if Donny is able to, exceed expectations, we are in a much better position because then you've got competition for places, and that's what you would want in a club like Manchester United. So once again, I think Ericsson by far, I think if I have to pick one player, like from match day one up until now, the most consistent player for us, I think that has got to be Ericsson. He's been, I would say, used in every single position up until now. He's been used as a false nine, he's been used as a winger, he's been used as a number 10, he's been used as an 8, he's been used as a 6 as well. So I think what he's shown us, he's versatile and he can bring us the same amount of quality no matter where he plays on the pitch. And he fits perfectly in this system. I think, considering what happened to him at the Euros, I think he's had the best comeback that you can actually, want from a player. And I think he's a workhorse. Definitely he is. I think he covers every blade of the grass whenever he plays. He's everywhere on the pitch, whether it comes to pressing, whether it comes to passing. And I think one of the biggest things that he actually brings to the club is his smartness with set pieces, which we actually missed for quite some time. I think
Mm.
when he's taking free kicks, it looks much more deadlier than when Ronaldo or Bruno actually takes them because he's got that vision in his mind to actually, make that perfect cross or make that perfect kick. So I think Ericsson is just going to get better and better. I think every single club in the world would be regretting their decision not to actually come in for him, considering we actually got him for a free. So I think one of the best deals we've done in quite some time. And I think once again, uh, I'm really, really happy the way he has turned out. And hopefully, he's able to maintain his form and actually maintain his fitness as well, because he's really, really, really key for us, for not just the play style, but for the players playing alongside him as well. For McTominay, for Bruno, even for Diogo Dalot, I would say, and for the striker playing up top.
Yeah, there's a couple comments I want to get into in the chat. Neat aspirant, love the channel. That's now defense, good at midfield, struggling in attack. It seems like it's now we've got the complete opposite problems. Vincent Bullock's in the chat, who's a regular, says hi guys, good to hear from you, Vince. Hope you're doing good. And Zoe's media says Zidane Iqbal if Eriksen gets injured. Have you seen Iqbal's new look? I have, yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen it. He's had a
yeah,
fresh little trim,
yeah.
a fresh trim, and I remember the cameos he was putting in pre-season. Looked like a very good player. Even him and Savage was
Him and
both
Savage,
like you could tell
exactly.
he was
Yeah, yeah.
brought up together in the youth days. So yeah, he's someone you can look at, and the way Ten Hag coaches players, definitely,
I really
definitely
hope
could
that
have
they
some.
both would have gone
Right.
on loan deals. I think they would have done really, really well if they both, got
Yeah,
good loan deals. I think they would have
like
got really good
like Garner
seasons.
did with
Exactly my
Nottingham
point.
Forest,
But yes, I
a
think in a
similar
way it's
kind of
good.
loan.
I think then in a way it's good because then they would have been sold the next season.
Yeah. Okay, the last topical item we've got is Yap Stam, who's been talking to the media about Lisandro Martinez, one legendary nutcase to another nutcase. Stam has said that was an easy one the day when he signed for United. I had already said that they will talk about his height over here in England. I think everyone thinks as a centre back you need to be big and tall, otherwise you won't make it. Of course, sometimes Martinez is going to get surprised, but that's what also happens with big players. They make mistakes as well. Martinez shows his quality on the ball. He shows quality when defending, and his communication around him is very good. So, very high praise from a very good centre back in Yap Stam, who's now an actual manager as well, I think. Do you think the centre back position is changing slightly as we move forward? Like they seem to be going for more mobile and technically gifted players. I think the likes of I don't know, Lissandro, Kunde, Timber, Marquinhos, these kind of guys seem to be becoming more and more common with teams playing out from the back and teams playing with a high line. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I think once again football keeps on changing. The play style of clubs keeps on changing, and because of that sort of change, the category and the profile of the players playing in certain positions change as well. And once again, I think with Lisandro, it doesn't really even have to do, with the fact that football has changed or, the system is changing. I think the kind of, you know, dedication, the kind of attitude he actually brings, you put him in any team in the Premier League at the moment, he would he would actually play really, really well. Whether you put him in at Liverpool, whether you put him in at City, Tottenham, no matter where, he's gonna, be able to pull roots every single club he plays in. And
Arsenal wanted him, didn't they?
yeah, Arsenal did, and he snubbed them for us. So
Yeah.
a reason.
Ding ding ding.
And yeah, I think he could be someone. I think he could be someone big for us. I think could be a contender for the captain's armband in the few seasons as well, because I think he's got that, I would say, and I think he's got that leadership quality in him to lead the club forward. You need that, kind of ruthlessness from a captain, and that kind of aggressiveness, I would say, as a captain as well. And I think Martinez is able to fill that role quite perfectly. So once again, could be a contender for the captain's armband in the upcoming seasons. And except that, I think you never really know. Like in the next 5 years, maybe tall and more physical centre backs once again come into the limelight. But
Yeah.
because I think football is a sport that keeps on changing really, really quick. I think managers come up with different ideas, and I think overall as clubs and countries, like you even see Italy, even now, they still have that, certain kind of category and profile for a centre back as well as a midfielder and even a striker. They still, set in those traditional ways. They still like to play in that traditional back five or a back three, and, push up with two center forwards, or, play out wide with two wingers, but still have a back five. I think uh, when it comes to England, and I would even say when it comes to Spain, they like to, tweak about with things a lot. We've seen so many different play styles. We've seen so many different changes in the past 5 years itself when it comes to football in these two leagues. And yes, I think it's going to be exciting as to how football is able to shape up. in the upcoming 5 years. And yeah, I think it is a very unpredictable sport, like I mentioned. You can anything can come up. We've seen that before as well. And with Lisandro Martinez, I think the moment he came in, at the first interview that he did, I think he won the hearts of every single United fan, because that's what you would want to, hear from your player, that they're willing to, give everything for the club on the pitch. And he's shown that in the games. He looks much more comfortable playing alongside Varane. I think Varane being the commander, I think he's able to, you know, express himself really well on the pitch, as well as able to absorb the pressure quite well, then give the ball to Varane, and Varane is able to move the ball forward quite well. So overall, it's a good balance with Varane and Martinez being in there. And when it comes to his height, I think he has the best stat for aerial duels in the league. So I don't think height really matters. And he's going to come up against Haaland this weekend, so we'll see how much height actually has to do with football in England. So
Yeah. And he's pocketed Haaland before, so
exactly
it's
my
going to be
point.
a very interesting battle. The last question of the show, this is going to kill you to answer, but these are the best questions to ask. If you could go back to the transfer window, or say if you got sent back to the transfer window, and you could only sign either Eriksen or Lisandro based on what you've seen from both of them, which one would you take?
Eriksen.
I love asking the difficult questions.
Eriksen.
So you take Eriksen and leave Lisandro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Do you
think
feel like he's more important to United?
I think I would only say that because Eriksen fulfills three roles in that team: creativity, moving the ball
Yeah.
forward and linking it up with the attack, and maintaining possession while being under pressure. That's the reason why I actually pick Eriksen. But otherwise, once again, can't really argue with having Martinez either.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, that concludes the show for today. Thank you to everyone watching, getting involved in the chat. I see all your comments. Thank you very much for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video if you haven't already. We've got the return of A to Z tomorrow, fun interactive show that we've done a while back. It's got to be over a couple of months now when we last did an A to Z. Very fun show, very interactive. There won't be the usual FPL FPL roundup on Friday, as obviously there was no Premier League football on the weekend. It was an international break, but we will have a new show and we will cover the press conference for the Manchester derby. The Man City preview will be on Saturday. We'll have a group of lads on for that, so that should be fun. Join us for that. And then Sunday, of course, is the big one, which we'll have a watch along for live, and we'll be live an hour before kickoff, so make sure you join us for all of it. It's going to be fun the next couple of days. Busy schedule, and we're going to have lots of content, so join us on Real Reds Talk for that. Thank you for joining me, Shreyas. Do you have any final thoughts before we head off?
Glazes out.
Glazes out. I love it. Thank you very much, guys. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, 6:30. Peace.